Time for you to get honest with your reflection, the pen, and the page. Let me take you forward. Black people can be Latino. Black people can be Hispanic. Black people are the American express of people because we are everywhere the rest of you want and need to be. Those of us staying inside are doing so for our own safety. The rest of you that pretend like you're not comfortable in the proximity that you hold due to the caste system. We've taught you, we've given you the handbook, we've even reminded you and taken your remedial asses back to class to make sure you could read it and comprehend it properly.
I wasn't planning on running for office. I was planning on finally catching up on my bills and building a better life for myself after getting my degree. But then I watched as our so-called leaders allowed our democracy to crumble. I watched as they took millions from war profiteers while Gaza and other nations burned to the ground using our tax dollars. I watched as they negotiated with fascists and wrote strongly worded letters instead of standing up for democracy. It was then when I realized that the people who got us into this mess were never going to be the ones to get us out of it. We don't need another polished politician who has conformed to the system. We don't need another experienced official who will let millions struggle just to be in the good graces of a corporation. We need people who have lived the struggle these puppets only pretend to understand. We need people who will stand up and fight for humanity and our dignity. People who will fight for every single one of us. I'm just a regular person. So yes, I am under the underdog. No, I do not have their money and I do not have their connections, but I have something they will never fucking have. I have the spine in my back, I have the fire in my belly. This campaign isn't just about a seat. This is about gutting the establishment puppets, the leaders who only serve the billionaires before the population. We have to change. We need change now. I'm Vance Bostic. The people are coming for you bitches. It is time now. That's where I'm at. That's where I stand. That's it. My name is Vance Bostic, and I'm going to be running against Hakeem Jeffries in the June primary for New York's 8th Congressional District in Brooklyn. There are a lot of people asking, what's my platform? Where do I stand? Why do I want to do this? And while there are a lot of problems that we face in terms of housing, affordability, all of that, one of my biggest issues is that we need these establishment corporate puppets out of politics. We need to take corporate ownership out of owning our representatives. So my biggest platform is gutting the establishment puppets. It is getting out these people who serve corporate interests before they serve their constituency. That's really what my platform is right in this very moment in time. Yes, I will grow more. Yes, I will have some more standard stuff in terms of affordability and in terms of how we deal with society. But right now, I think our biggest focus is to get out the representatives who only cater to the billionaires and the capital class above us, the people, the working class, individual, everyday people. I strongly believe that we need real people representing real people. And that is why I'm running to remove Hakeem Jeffries. No more corporate puppets. I'm here for you.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz, specifically for Think About It Thursday. Now, tonight we have a wonderful guest, and keep in mind this is part one of a two-part interview with House candidate that will be taking on one of the big dogs on Capitol Hill, Mr. Vance Bostic. Good evening, and thank you for joining.
Hi.
Um, you know what? Let's just hit the ground running. What is one thing you want people to know about you as the person before we get into Vance the candidate?
I think me as the person, I will always wear my heart on my sleeve. My whole life I've offered nothing but transparency to the point where sometimes it's a little bit too much. I'm a little too open and a little too honest with all of my thoughts and all of my feelings, and I don't have a filter. I say exactly how I feel. I'm blunt. I'm an Aries. Like, this is just kind of like things that like have got me through my life. It's just something that I am. I don't like lying. I don't like stealing. I don't like hiding things. Like, I those are like big things that are at the core of who I am, that make me who I am. That yeah, those are that's it right there. Is I try to just be real. I try to just be authentic in any situation. I think that's the thing that I hold the most to me. And also, I guess I hate regretting things, so I'm cautious about what I do in life. So like, I don't never want to get older and like be like, oh man, I really regretted doing that, or I regretted not doing that. So I'm always like, I'm a risk taker. I try new things. I am cautious. I think about the things before I do them. I think about things before I say them. And I generally try to mean what I say. I also don't like to say sorry, so I like to like put myself in positions to never have to say sorry, to never have to apologize for something. So yeah, I think living honestly is how you do that. You just kind of just go with it and just hope.
Understandable. Now, right now, we're feeling the effects of the establishment government, of people pretending to be the common man, the common woman, the common person. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that you began in the workforce at the age of 14.
Yeah, 14, 15. I was in summer youth at school. And then like I had an after school program I would sometimes volunteer at while when I got out of school. And then yeah, when I was 15, definitely I was a carny at 15. I was traveling the East Coast of the United States with the carnival, going from state to state, working different fairgrounds and state amusement parks. And it was yeah, I did that from when I was 15 till I was 20. And it was great.
Okay, and I'm glad you brought up your experience as a carny. What lessons do you think that you can bring from being around such a diverse group of people to Capitol Hill?
I think it's important to remember that people are people. Um, People have their flaws, but they also just sometimes want to do better. People want to change, and people sometimes just want to escape from the world that they live in, and they just sometimes they act out, but people will always be just who we are as in humanity. And yeah, they just what can I offer for Capitol Hill? um again, I think it's that. It's just the lived experience. It's something that is. It's about real hustle. It's seeing people day in and day out try to do what they need to do to make ends meet, even if it's traveling with the carnival. Yeah, people just working hard. I think that's something that we are lacking on Capitol Hill is real authenticity. It's actual grit and grime and work and just getting your hands dirty. It's a lot of like
Mhm.
talk and show and smiles and bipartisanship.
Now, what I find interesting in your story is that in politics, people like to market themselves as the American dream, as pulling themselves up by the bootstraps and being able to overcome in spite of. You have to the point where you recently received your MBA, correct?
Yeah. Yep. I dropped out of high school. Well, I didn't drop out of high school because I was working as a carny when I was through my high school years. I ended up missing a lot of school during that time, and by the time I got to the end, I was at 18 and I didn't have enough credits and I just had to drop out of school. I got my GED in 2013, and it wasn't until 2020 when the pandemic came where I finally had the opportunity to not have to work. My job closed. We had the pandemic, everything closed, and I used that opportunity instead of sitting around to go and get my degree. That at At 30, well, I graduated when I was 38. But yeah, in 2020, I went back to school and I did that 5 years, and I came out 5 years later with an MBA. Yeah.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, let the people know, where did you receive your MBA from?
Brooklyn College, the community college here in Brooklyn, not too far from where I live. And growing up my whole life, because I really love just living this Brooklyn dream, this New York life. Like I always wanted to be a starving artist, and I wanted to go to Brooklyn College for the longest time. I was like, that just sounds so cool. Like I'm from Brooklyn and the Brooklyn College, like I could be a Brooklyn College graduate. That was something that I really wanted to do. So like when I finally had the opportunity to, I jumped on it. And literally it was like a month from when I had the idea to do it to like I was starting classes. Like it went by so fast. It was meant to be. And that's something that I always say, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And like I just kind of went through the motions and I did the steps and it all kind of just clicked and it fell into place. And here I am now with an MBA, a college graduate. Like it's crazy. I never thought I would be able to actually do it. I've always put work first my entire life. It was always like, I gotta work, I gotta work, I gotta pay the bills, I gotta get money, I gotta work. And I always put my academics on the back burner, and I never had the opportunity to really. And I was like, I'm somebody like I don't want to like go to school and work at the same time. Like I know people do it, but I was like I didn't want to have to deal with that. Like there was times I was working 3 jobs, 4 jobs at a time, then going to the nightclub and shooting pictures. I worked in nightlife for a while. It was a lot going on. It was not a lot of time to get my degree. But once the pandemic happened and my job closed, and for a few months I was sitting around and I was like, you know what? I need to do something. I can't just do this. And for years, I've been like, I really want to get into accounting. Like it's something that I'm good at, something that I like. And I went and I did it. I finally had the opportunity. And that's what I did with my pandemic time in isolation.
Now, would you consider yourself to be liberal, leftist, moderate, progressive, or conservative?
I am extremely, extremely progressive. I am super far to the left. Yeah, some people would call me an extremist, I guess. I don't know. But no, I mean, I think my focus is humanity first. So like if that puts me on the far left, then so be it. If like what it takes to break away from our current system and to put humanity and work as a species and just become a planet, a unit, then yeah, if that makes me an extreme leftist, then fine, great, cool. That's what I am.
Now, there is a lot of chatter regarding, rightfully so, the current government shutdown. If you were currently in office, how would you approach ending this shutdown?
Ending the shutdown. Let's see. So like I think a way about it, like I think we need to come to terms that we need to provide for the people. I think we're not gonna get it reopened again until like the Republicans come in with a better offer. I think the current Democratic leadership is trying to hold out. For better or for worse, this is what I think is happening. So I think we would really have to force the need to, even if it meant like sacrificing our own kind of pay to maybe hurry up the process of getting the Republicans to come to the table with something legit for the people. I think more extremes are required instead of just being like, well, this is what it is, we're waiting, yada yada. I think we can take measures where put some risk on the table, put something that will make them fearful in a way where they're like, all right, we really need to do this. Yeah.
Do you think the current GOP has any fears?
I think they feel emboldened by what this regime is doing and what the Heritage Foundation has laid out for everybody. I think they feel a little fearless, recklessly fearless, actually. It seems weird to me, their behavior, but yeah, I don't think they fear in the way that they should be. 100%. I think that they feel protected, and it feels false to me. So yeah, it's weird. I think they should be more fearful of the people. Yeah.
Now, for the people watching, do you have any previous political experience?
I have no political experience. And part of making this decision to run for Congress was the fact that I had no political experience. What I had told myself is like, I really think we need somebody who is not of the establishment, someone who isn't experienced, who isn't going to come in and be like, well, this is how government works, this is what needs to happen, this is how we have to do things, but instead be like, this is how government should work, this is how we need to do things, this is how we're going to change the system, instead of coming in with a preconceived notion of like, this is how things go. I really think it's so important to have real actual representation in Congress, where we're not like just constantly having our having to sacrifice, from our money being stolen from us, from our dignity and our livelihoods by the billionaires, because they are, our Congress is beholden to them. They own all of government and to vote on their behalf and in their favor. So what I think, why I'm doing this, is because we need somebody that's going to come in and be like, nah, no more. Like, there's enough people fighting on the side of the billionaires. There's definitely not enough people fighting on the side of the people. We definitely need more people to do that. And I think we're going to get that when we don't have someone who is experienced, someone who is going to come in and be like, well, this is how it works.
And as you're going through this journey, because your election will actually take place next year, as you're going through this process, what are you doing to prepare yourself to potentially take that seat?
Right now, I mean, again, as somebody that has no kind of political experience, right now, one of the things that I'm focused on is really just learning the ins and outs of the system, the what can be done under the seat. That's really where I'm at right now, and I'm just trying to get involved with the community. I'm trying to work with organizers and trying to meet as many people as possible to understand what real needs are. Now, I can say like, all right, this is what I believe the problems are, this is where I see people are struggling, but my lived experience is not going to be the same as everybody else's lived experience. So really getting out into the street and figuring out what the real needs are, where people find themselves struggling, and then understanding what I can do with that seat and how to make them meet each other. That's kind of like where my entire focus is at right now, is really learning how to put the pieces of the puzzle together so that when I do get in, I'm like, all right, this is what's going to be done. This is what we can do. And another thing that I think about is, when we get a bunch of like-minded people in these seats, we can actually make real change happen. Change from all around the nation, for all of the constituency, for all of the people. And that's kind of like the real goal at the core. So yeah, I think I'm just learning. I'm trying to just do the best that I can and be the best that I can with this decision that I'm making.
And you stated that you're out in the community doing work. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm really just like trying to like go to like community board meetings. Again, I'm interested in hearing what people's problems are so we can try to bring about change. So like, I'm really just like, I went to some community board meetings, I went to some DSA meetings, I went to this Bed-Stuy cleanup recently where we cleaned up the street, and I thought that was really fun. And yeah, I've just been like trying to just talk, trying to learn, trying to understand, trying to not mold myself, but like just immerse myself in the community more, trying to understand, trying to just gather in all the information. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one other major issue that the country is experiencing from coast to coast is ICE. Now, I do know that a lot of people are, whether jokingly or in a serious matter, stating that eventually they want to see Nuremberg Trials 2.0. Is this something that you would present yourself or co-sponsor?
Either or. If nobody's going to present it, then I would totally present it. If somebody presents it, I would totally co-sponsor it. But like I said, I definitely think a big part of making this change is having like-minded people that want to make sure that we do all the same things in office. So yeah, that's something that I would totally want to pursue, either or. And I believe that there's going to be enough people to enter Congress that will want to make that happen. Yeah, for sure. Because what is happening is just, it's not okay in the slightest bit. And like I keep saying, retribution will be had for these consequences that this regime is making. So however that happens, when it happens, it's going to happen. Yeah.
Now, in order for, well, historically, the biggest and best changes that we've been able to accomplish has been through working across the aisle, true bipartisanship. Do you believe that you would be able to accomplish that?
I think that we're in a place right now where we can't sacrifice human rights and dignity. So if we're having conversations about like identity politics and equality and human rights, like that's not something that I'm going to be caving on. And I think we all firmly need to, even not in Congress, but we all need to firmly stand on just like not tolerating that anymore. We can't have these debates over human rights. So if it's other things like trying to like deal with affordability and we want to come to terms, if we're talking about taxing the rich, then yeah, let's make that happen. But like we've put too much, we've given too much power to the billionaires and not enough respect to the people. So like we can't be caving on that anymore. This is the whole reason why I'm pursuing government, is because we need somebody that's going to be looking out for the people. So if it means caving to make bipartisanship, like that's not something that I'm really that interested in. No. But if we can actually come to real terms that bring about real change, 100%. Yeah, I'll totally bipartisanship it. But if we're not talking about actually making progress, then nah.
Now, your work experience has taken the non traditional route. And generally, those that don't have traditional career fields are overlooked when it comes to politics, campaigning, etc. Do you have any plans to bridge that gap and let them know that their voices are heard also, and that legislation would also include them?
So yeah, so my whole thing is that I've worked in food and hospitality and in the service industry primarily throughout my whole life. And above anything, when I say we don't need another career politician, somebody that is polished, I also mean that like we actually need real public servants. And because I've worked in the service industry, that's like all I know is service to the people and how to make sure that whoever I'm serving is taken care of. That above all is what we desperately need in Congress right now, is real public servants. And when it comes to supporting the servers, like that's my entire like focus, because I come from that background, including like my team. I want to be servers and artists and gig workers and community organizers. Like those are the people that I really want to bring on board to give the voice back to the people. Like that's like the whole idea, is about showing love to the service industry that, like you said, that feels like they're not heard, feels like they don't have a voice. That's a big part of this, is like really being like, but this is actually what we need. We don't need like a lawyer who studied law. Like, sure, some are great, but we need to diverse it. We need to make a diverse coalition in Congress, an actual reflection, representation of the people. Having somebody with hospitality background at their core is something that we really need. It's something that's missing for sure.
Most definitely. Most
Yeah.
definitely. Um, Previous to this current campaign, do you have a history in activism?
So like, yes, I would suppose, like I've always been a champion for the LGBTQ plus movement, like constantly. Anything involving that, I'll attend rallies, I'll attend protests when they're happening. It's not something that I did regularly. I was never really into like being out in the streets, but like I will be like, especially like when I'm with my friends, like I'm like, all right, we got to go and do this. We know we got to vote this. I make sure that the people that are in my circles share my values as well. I'm very big on not tolerating just like, especially like conservative like views. Like that's not something that I have around in my circles. But yeah, I totally I wouldn't necessarily say like I'm a professional like protester or like been like a activist out there. But yeah, no, I've definitely been vocal and supportive of needs and causes for sure.
Now, here, we'll pull it up here. Your platform. Let's say wonderful. Let's start at the beginning. Housing as a human right.
Yeah. I think it's so important that, like, listen, we have basic needs. Shelter is one of those basic needs. Like, my biggest beef with the system right now is that they've allowed the billionaires to turn the act of living into a profitable business, where, like, even like having shelter is like you got to have money. And the whole thing is just we need to have housing as a human right. We have almost 800,000 people living homeless on our streets in America. That has to change. Housing needs to just be a thing that everybody has access to. Everybody can get freely. Like, it just, that's where we're at with it. We have to get the people off the street, not even just because we're cleaning up the street, but because of dignity, because we want to put people in homes to give them a chance to be able to have a dignified life. Without having shelter, you can't do anything. That's at the core of dignity and prosperity, is just having a roof over your head. It's so simple. Like, that should be mandatory, straight up for everybody.
Okay. And then you go on to discuss a livable wage. What do you consider a livable wage?
Well, there's a lot of things that say, like, a lot of ranges that I see, like what would be like the standard minimum wage right now is like from like 30 to like 65. I see numbers all the time. But yeah, like, I know one of the things that I really support is that Zoran wants to have a $30 minimum wage in New York. And that is something I completely support and totally think is valuable to people. We need to make sure that people can have more money. Um, that is something that is so important. And then also with that, it includes having, like, our service workers, bartenders, waiters, servers, they get paid a sub minimum wage. And I think it's so important that we need to get rid of the sub minimum wage and automatically have our servers making at minimum wage or more while still being able to keep their tips. Like, I think a $30 minimum wage is so important for New York. I think I'm exploring ideas of a $20 national minimum wage and $30 in New York to follow Zoran's plan. But yeah, I think that's definitely a crucial aspect, something that I know that people want. I know that I would, especially working in the service industry. I know that I would want that because we are struggling. That's like the hugest problem here in New York is a struggle, especially for
What
servers who don't have any benefits.
Agreed. Now, when it comes to servers, would you move for a change of the business model, where the employers are finally tasked with properly paying and providing benefits to all of their employees
Yeah,
instead of pushing off those costs to the general public? Would that be
yeah,
an option?
100%, 100%. Yeah, that's totally something that needs to happen. And I mean, I get the restaurant industry. It's tough out there. It's hard, but everybody it starts at the top. The suppliers and the manufacturers are charging so much, and then you know what trickles down? The payments. That trickles down the expense of everything. So if we can, like, change the way we just everything has to change. If we can change it from the top, how that is, then we can probably make it more affordable so that business owners, restaurant owners can pay their staff a livable wage. Like, it just has to happen, or we figure out ways to make it happen. That you know, I think that's the way we go about that for sure.
Most definitely. And then next is ending Citizens United.
That is something that everybody wants. I think it's so important to get these big packs out of government entirely. Like, that's at the core. That's our problem. Is that our Congress people are owned. They're owned. They're owned for their votes. They're owned for their word of mouth. Like, it's such a problem. We have to get rid of Citizens United, and it's something that everybody's been asking for the longest time now. So, like, I'm tired of asking for things. Like, we need to start doing. That's like where I'm at with a lot of this. Is just like no more asking. And again, when we have like-minded people in these positions, we can make these changes. So that's where I'm at with that for sure. Yeah.
Um, let's see. Next on the list is justice and safety.
So this one is really just about dealing with like police reform, really, and just changing up the whole system. I think a big part of our problem is A, the people don't generally have a good relationship with law enforcement. And then B, the way that law enforcement deals with crime is not really prevention. We need to tackle areas to prevent crime like poverty, mental health. Those are the areas that we need to focus on in order to lessen the way that crime happens, how crime happens, when crime happens. But also, like, we need to find ways to train our law enforcement officers in a way where we're not looking at them as enemies. We're not looking at them like we've got a beef or a grudge anymore. We've got to find ways to build a relationship that's not aggressive, I think. And that's really at the core of where I go there. It's about trying to target that issue. It's about building a healthier relationship for sure.
And next, you have single subject bills. Every bill introduced must cover a single subject clearly expressed in the bill's title.
You know, one of the things, especially with the big beautiful bill, is that it's just too much. It's so many times that we have bills that are just filled with a bunch of nonsense and a bunch of junk. And there's times where we have our representatives be like, oh, I didn't vote on that bill because such and such was in it. Or I voted on that specifically for this, but there's a whole bunch of harmful stuff in it. That has to stop. We like that is just like, let's have single issue bills where we focus on a single subject and then move on. Even if it makes the process a little bit longer. Okay, great. But let's make sure we're not harming people by adding harmful stuff and then passing a bill just because it's got one good thing in it. And that's all that our representatives talk about is this one good thing. But meanwhile, it's got a whole bunch of things that will just hurt the general population. That needs to stop for sure.
And universal health care.
I mean, that's like a given. Like, I feel like out of this whole list, like that's coming like straight away. That is the one thing that the people want. That is the one thing that the people need. And that is the one thing that the people will get. 100%. I think everybody that's running for Congress understands that this is a priority above all, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I feel like this is self-explanatory, but yeah, this is something that we're gonna get, we're gonna make happen. Yeah.
Artist and gig workers Bill of Rights.
This one is my favorite. Now, when I first started running, when I got the idea to run for Congress, I really didn't want to build like a policy and platform list. I really kind of like envision like the people, me working together with the constituency, with the district, to kind of be like, well, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. And then we kind of work together on constructing actual policies to implement specifically for the district and for the nation at large. But the one thing that I did have in mind myself was this artist and gig workers bill of rights, especially for somebody who is an artist, somebody who has worked a ton of gigs, somebody who's had no protection, no insurance throughout that whole thing. That is something that I strongly want to advocate for. We need to, as work evolves and people resort more to artistry and gig work to pay their bills, our protections for our workers need to evolve as well. So that's something that I am very passionate and adamant about is this artist and gig workers bill of rights for sure.
LGBTQ plus and women's rights.
I think this is another one that goes without saying, but like my body, my choice, male, female, whatever the case is, whoever you are, it's your body, you make your choice. You know what I mean? We need to enter a phase where, especially when it comes to like gender, we're still locked into gender segregation a lot, where we're separated by male and female. And I think it's really important that we try to transition ourselves into a phase where we move more unisex in our roles, especially when you see all this stuff about sports. Like, I think that people like trans people who want to participate in sports. There are ways that these leagues determine whether a person can compete against another person or an activity. We need to like support that method and not have these people, these politicians come in and be like, no, that's a man and he can't like play in women's sports. Like, I think there's other ways to deal with that instead of saying that. So yeah, we need to definitely protect our choices, protect our bodies, and have autonomy throughout it all. That's how we progress forward, for sure.
We also may need to increase history, because the only reason we have male versus female sports is that women started coming in and mopping the floor with men.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said next on your platform is reinstate the fairness doctrine.
Now, I get a lot of shit for this. There's a lot of people that support it, but there's a lot of people that are just like, this is a complete violation of the First Amendment. But I believe that there's so much misinformation and disinformation out there, and purpose lies. Like, the billionaires spend a shit ton of money to spread lies and disinformation to people. There needs to be a way, even if it's not necessarily a fairness doctrine itself or reinstating it or having a modern one, there needs to be a way that we protect more against that. There has to be something that we collectively do that will make sure that people aren't spending massive amount of monies to lie and manipulate and trick the population. It's out of control. And like I said, people say that it's a violation of the First Amendment, but I think that lying to people is like a little violation of like morals and humanity. So we got to work something out. We got to figure out a different way to deal with that, how to protect against that, because it's crazy that somebody can come in and spend money and just have a bot farm, just lying to people.
True.
That has to change.
And then rounding out platform and policies, ban congressional stock trading.
I mean, there's another self-explanatory one, but I think it's so important that if you're working in Congress, you're not like trading stocks. They like you just don't do it. You have too much access to be able to you know it. You know what you can buy, what you can sell, when you can do it, what before it even happens. Like, the insider trading is a problem. It's been a problem. We keep talking about it being a problem. This whole thing is about, let's stop talking about these things. Let's start doing it. And we keep saying everything that is wrong and all these problems that we have. No more. No more. Let's stop talking about it. Let's make this happen. Ban congressional stock trading. We see it's a problem. We know it's a problem. Enough talking about it. Let's go.
And for more information like this, and if you want to go back and review Mr. Bostic's platform and policies, you can find it at Vance B, as in boy, for NY8, the number 8.com. You can see it at the bottom of the screen. Once again, it's Vance B for NY8.com. Now, also, let's dial it back for a little bit. Let the people really get to know you, because I love that you're thinking about the gig workers, the artists, etc. Tell us about your artistry.
I have I spent my life like making pop music. Weirdly, I've done some tracks. I love making music. I love photography. I love videography. Those are the things that I dabble in as an artist. I always wish that like I could draw, but like I'm not somebody that like, I don't do like actual art like with my hand. That's not something that I was able to ever really get into or master at all. I mean, I have like really bad handwriting also, so like imagine what my drawing it looks like. It's not good. I'm not that. But definitely with like production and music, like I really love just like zoning out in the middle of the night and just writing a song. I really love writing. I really love expressing myself through lyrics. I really love utilizing my eye. I have a really good perspective. I really like editing photos also. I like the whole process of all of it. I like the editing of everything, just that being in the zone, that repetitive behavior when you're just like just going for hours and you're just working on something. And it's part of like why I like accounting, that spreadsheet, just kind of getting in the zone of it, like, and just being lost in the muscle memory, the repetitiveness of it. It's the same thing with art. It's a big part of it. Like while I like being creative, I also like the working aspect of it, the the editing aspect of it, the deeper creation of it, the inner workings of it. I really like that. I like the end result, but I also like the doing of it for sure.
Hmm. Now, also, because we have had a string of politicians try to sell us a persona. So when we have someone who's authentic and, been in the trenches, so to speak, with the rest of us, we should highlight that and to get a better understanding of what they can bring to the populace. Now, we know that you're running out of New York 8. But we also understand that once you're elected, you represent all of us. So, what do you want all of us to know about you and how you will amplify our voices?
I think at my core, I've always tried to live my life with a moral and ethical stance that my character puts the many above the few in like any situation. I think it's so important that we remove this grip from the billionaires and we put people before profit. We put humanity first. So that is something that national, even bigger than the nation, but just Earth entirely, is my focus is humanity. My focus is the people, the bigger picture of the human race. So while our smaller problems are what they are, and I definitely understand how we need to tackle them, the overall picture about elevating humanity is something that is at my core, something that is moving me in this moment. It's the drive. It's for real change, planet wide. Like I don't know how else to explain it, but like I think that's what we need. We need people who want to focus on the elimination of poverty and the promotion of prosperity for the nation entirely. We need people that want to make sure that these private industries aren't destroying our environment nationally. That is to protect everybody. That is to make sure that sustainability goes on, that the human race can thrive further. I think at the core, that's what I want people to definitely understand and to know. What I would bring is a sense of care for humanity, not just New York 8, not just America, but Earth and overall. Yeah, I think that's something that even now like I'm still trying to like understand like what that means, come to terms like, all right, like how do we elevate humanity? What does it mean to care about the people? Empathy is something that we're all navigating constantly, and it's something that even myself I'm trying to deprogram myself from the system that we all kind of were raised under. I'm trying to like understand how to be more empathetic and understanding of the human struggle, the human need. And at the core of that, I'm trying to get to the root of what our problems are in the bigger picture so we can do better for all of us. I think that's something that we need is people who want to make sure that we as a species can thrive. Yeah.
Now, being a creative individual, do you think that that gives you either a different perspective on how to handle things, or does it give you more of an edge in politics?
I think both. I think it offers a different perspective because being creative allows me to think multiple ways, but also it gives me an edge because I it I don't I don't take any like shit like. So yeah, no, I think it definitely it does a little bit of both. I think it offers a perspective and it does give a little bit of an edge. It adds a little bit of flavor to something that we're missing. We don't. There's not many people that are like, yeah, I spent my life being an artist, or I spent my life working in hospitality that are in Congress. It's always like, yeah, I spent years like being a lawyer or in school getting this degree, and I don't really come from the streets, but like I've got like a middle class family. I think it definitely offers a perspective, while providing an edge for sure. Definitely.
Now, just a reminder for those watching, keep in mind this is part one of a two-part interview. The second part will take place on the Villain's View on November 8th. And you can click the link in my bio to get to the GCPR page. Now, we do have to address the elephant in the room because of one of the most notable people to seemingly come out of nowhere and be the common man in New York was recently released from prison, George Santos. So how can you let people know that he's not like you?
Yeah, I mean, one, he's conservative. I am 100%. I have no conservative bone in my body. I don't even value conservative ideology. I've never done drag either, so that's another thing. I have a lot of drag queen friends. I don't shame it at all. But I mean, maybe I've done a little drag. Possibly I've thrown on a little wig every once in a while at a party or something. But no, I don't think I'm anything like him at all. Like, I think the biggest thing that separates us is that, like, he's a conservative. He has conservative views, and that's just something that I don't have. I don't even understand what we're conserving still. Like, I still try to figure that out every day. Just like when I ask people, like, what's the far left? Like, I'm always trying to figure out, what are we conserving? Like, I don't know what the far left is, and I have no idea what we're conserving. Yeah.
Now, for the Democratic primary, you're going head to head with Hakeem Jeffries. What sets you apart from him, and why are you the better choice?
This comes down to lived experience. Like I started off by saying, I strongly believe that we don't need someone who is a career politician. We don't need somebody that's going to be like, well, this is how it works. This is how it goes. This is how government is. This is what we need to do. I really believe that we need someone that is of the people to come in and say, this is what we need to do. I am the very opposite of Hakeem. I'm like way more progressive than he is also. Like, and also I'm not going to be bought and owned by the billionaires. That is something that I'm not somebody that has ever valued money. Listen, I've worked in the service industry. You don't really make money there. I did that because I was fantasized about being a starving artist. And I was like, I got to work in the food and hospitality while I be an artist and live in New York City. Like, that was like my fantasy, my dream growing up. And I lived that life very much so. And I'm happy to have lived that life. I don't care that I don't come from money and that I don't have riches. That's not something that I seek. My passions, my dreams, my purpose is something that moves me. So like, yeah, I don't think that I will be easily as bought as Hakeem. I don't come into the establishment saying this is how the system works. This is what we have to do. I come in and I want to be like, well, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to change, because there's no going back. There's no fixing what's broken. What we do next is change into something new. That's what I want to offer. Is a brand new change, something that is not what we have, something that is not what we've seen, something is not what we know. That's what, like, my focus is, what my goal is. That's something that I really want to even continue to separate us, is the fact that he's the old guard. I'm somebody that's come in with new ideas, even though the ideas sometimes doesn't feel new because we've been begging for most of them for years. But it's like implementing them will be something that, like, he's kind of consistently also voted against in many, many ways. So yeah, I think that's where we're at with that. Just I feel different in the sense of I have street smarts where he's kind of like book smart, trained smart, professional smart. You know what I mean? I'm like, I've hustled. I've got a lot of grit and grime in my life. I understand struggle, and I think that's where we separate ourselves at. Is I come in and I'm not here to take any shit. Like, I'm not here to be polite and nice. I'm not really looking for bipartisanship and sacrifices on humanity and dignity. Like, that's not something that I offer at all. Yeah, no. So I think we separate ourselves in that, where he's always looking for, like, we got to reach across the aisle and work with them. Like, I'll work with them if we're talking about progressing humanity at that point. But if we're talking about identity politics. You're trying to get trans people out of sports. Is like, that's not something that I'm interested in. Like, nah, like let people live, let people have their life, and that's it. That's what we'll reach over. Yeah.
Now, what are 5 things? 5 things you want the general public to know about you?
I mean, I think we started off with it when I had said that, like, I don't like lying. I don't like hiding things. I don't like secrets. Those are core things that people should know about me. Because they're my driving factors in life. When you see me, when you interact with me, I try to remain as honest and as authentic as possible. Sometimes again to the point where it makes people kind of feel maybe a little uncomfortable. But I'd rather be that than having to consistently like remember what lie I told somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's one of the things. As much as like I kind of like feel like a rebel, I'm also kind of like a stickler for rules. Like I like order. I like law. Um, I will say we all have to want law and order to have law and order. Like it can't be just like law and order for some and then none for others. Like it's got to be something we all want. But I do like structure and I do like order. But it's got to be something that works for everybody. But I also do like breaking the rules. I think a little bit. I like stepping out of the box in terms of breaking the rules, but while still having structure. That's something that shapes who I am. I like to laugh. Like I mean, now I feel like I'm on a dating show. I like to take long walks on the beach. Like, no, I like to like have like I like to laugh. I like to be alone a lot. Also, because I've spent my life working in service industry, because I've spent my life like working in nightlife and in entertainment. Um, I find myself when the pandemic happened and I was like secluded and I was alone. I was like, I love this. Like I fell in love with the seclusion. Like people were losing their minds. They were like, I'm alone. I loved it so much. I was like, I don't gotta see people. I don't have to I really do. So while I do like being out and about and I love talking to people, I've found this peace and serenity of just being alone that I fell in love with that I didn't really because I'm like always out and throughout my life I've always worked. I've always been in the streets. I've never really got to experience that seclusion, that isolation alone. And when I came to terms with that, like I fell in love with it. I fell in love with me more. I loved self-reflecting. I love just thinking about what makes me do the things that I do. What makes me behave the way that I behave? What sets me off? What are my ticks? Who am I? I found all of that while being alone and I loved it. I love discovering me. And that's part of what makes me want to run for Congress is I feel true to myself. I feel true to be honest with the people. Like in those things that the honesty, the being authentic, the being self-reflective, having a real world lived experience, those are the things I think we need as a representative. Which is what pushes me to want to do this. Those are the driving factors that really make me say, like, I can do this. I not only want to do this, I can do this. I'm honest. I am a good person. Now, I get it. I may sometimes be a little aggressive, right? That happens. But again, like we're at a time like I feel like we can have peace when we all want peace. Like it's not going to be peace for some and not for thee. Like it's just we've got to all want it together. Like we can build a better world, but we have to do it together. That's the only way any of this happens, right? So that's where I'm at with that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, do I need more? Was that 5? I don't.
You got one more.
Another thing about me, I like cleaning. I think cleaning is so therapeutic. I love the dishes. I also, as somebody who's worked in food, I cook all the time. I love cooking. I love cleaning. I really like doing the dishes when I'm stressed out. And the sink is full. Like I love it. I'll just be in there, just going, just doing dishes. Like it is muscle memory, and I can just zone out and just be in my own head. And again, I'm into that self-reflecting, so I'm constantly just thinking about what I do, what I'm doing, how I do something, like what's the next thing to do, like how do I be better. Oh, I'll add one more just because this just popped in my head, but this is something that is at the core of who I am. Is Mondays. I love Mondays. You know, people come in there like, oh, it's fucking Monday again. I hate Monday. I love Mondays. I approach Monday with the
Really?
sense of, okay, this is a chance to start over and try again. When I wake up on a Monday, I'm like, all right, now I can be a better person than I was the week before. Now I can try to start over. Where I failed the previous week, Monday is an opportunity to start over and be a better person. That is something that I always try to look at. I hate when people say I hate Monday. Oh, here we go again. Like we got to start the week, and I get it. People are so weighed down by the system. People are so like just they're like here we go again. They get the weekend off. It's the 9 to 5. It's Monday to Friday. It's the rhythm of the hustle. I've been fortunate enough to not have to be completely weighed down by the system, where again, that's also why I'm running, because I can see the problems that we have in the system. I see the problems that people face. Even if I don't face all of them directly, that's what empathy is. It's understanding that people are going through problems. And because I'm in a position where I'm not fully weighed down by the system, I can stand up. And because I'm just bold enough and I don't give a shit enough, like I can stand up and actually fight back. And I'm not afraid to take risks. And I'm not afraid to risk myself on the line to make sure that the greater good, at least what I'm finding out in this time of catastrophe, is that the greater good is protected. I think that is more important than worrying about if I'm risking something or if I'm doing so, you know what I mean? I
Mhm.
think and that really just stems at the core of like just Mondays are a chance to do better. You know, just always just trying to be the better, just be a better person than I was the time before. And we're in a place where I think we need that. We need people who are not throwing their hands up and being like, I'm over it. We need people that are going to be like, all right, like, how do we fix this shit? Like, what's up? What are we doing next? Because I can see it. It's not working. I'm not here for it. This is not the world that I want to build. So therefore, I have to find a way to make the world that I want to build, to bring about the world that I would like to live in, that other people would like to live in. And apparently, we're building a world that the billionaires would like to live in, and that cannot happen. Like, it just can't. So here we are. I'm running for Congress as a regular person with not a goddamn bit of experience, but my experience comes in humanity, in the lived experience, in being a real representative of the people. That is what I think we so need right now, because the billionaires have everything and we have nothing. It's time to change that.
Absolutely. Now that everybody has gathered and boarded the bus, and we're about to take off to part two on November 8th, what would you put on the playlist for us to listen to as we take this bus ride to part two?
Oh man, the playlist. Oh, okay. I guess I'm listening to a lot of Lord right now, although I'm really not listening to a lot of music at all. I've canceled all of my subscriptions for like a lot of things. I'm not watching movies. I'm avoiding like almost all forms of entertainment. Celebrities, I'm not fucking with them right now. But while I've been out and about putting up posters around Brooklyn, and I've been listening to a lot of Lord while I do that. So like her song Sober from her Melodrama album is like
That's
my
a good one.
go-to. It's my go-to song. It's so good. It has this feel-good melody that just gets me going. Royals is another one. Buzzcut Season from her first album is just one of my all-time favorites of hers. But also like anything from Britney Spears. Like, to be honest, like I'm such a
Mm.
pop tart when it comes to my music. I like pop music. Like I very rarely listen to like rock. Like I listen to some rock, I listen to some alternative. I don't really listen to like rap music that much. I don't really listen to like hip hop, like a little bit. Like I like some Brandy, I like Beyonce, but that's still more popish though, you know. So, but that's like where
Mhm.
I'm such a pop tart. I'm like, hit me, baby, one more time. Like, yeah, I'm a Britney fan for sure. So you can put anything from Britney on that playlist, and I'm a rock with it for sure. But Lord is where I'm. It gets me. Lord is like who I've been listening to as I'm like traveling on the bus or on the train. Like it just gets me in that zone where I'm like, all right, I'm in a vibe. I'm vibing
Yes. And nowadays we all need a vibe. Let's be
a
real.
little bit. Although, like I said, I have cut off like almost all forms of entertainment. I've really submerged myself in our political climate a little bit. At least I'm trying to. It gets overwhelming, and it does become a lot. I do a lot of gaming. That's my escape lately. Is I while I'm not watching movies or TV or anything, I am getting some gaming in when I do need to decompress and I do need to like woosah it out. Like yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, the music, yeah, I'm all of it. all of it. You know what? I think we need to stay focused on what's going on and not get too distracted. Like, especially with the algorithms on social media, you could like watch one dance video and then all of a sudden you've got like 50 of them popping up back to back. I can look at one person working out and all of a sudden my whole reel is like just people working out. And I'm just like, I don't want any of that. Like I be trying to like not interested, not interested. Like if it's not political, if it's not like and then like independent media like giving some news, like I'm trying to avoid it. We got to stay
Yeah, I
focused on
think
what's
all of
going
my
on.
algorithms need therapy and antibiotics because that never happens to me. I
No?
try to change my algorithm. I can watch 100 videos of straight bullshit. It still snaps back. It still snaps back, but it's me. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean, no,
a
mine
situation.
changes. I once went on this kick of like I was like for a while when at the beginning of the year, maybe in like March, April-ish, I was like looking to try to figure out like what are the right wingers seeing? Like what is their algorithm like? So I like started like just like liking like right wing stuff just to like try to figure out like what is the difference in the news that I'm seeing versus what they're seeing. And it was a nightmare. I could not get that right wing stuff out of my feed for so long, and I unfollowed everybody. I just started doing like the not interested thing, and it just kept popping up, and I was like, all right, I got
Well,
it. First of all,
never sacrifice your algorithm ever again. What you do
yeah.
is you tune into the Taz Effect specifically on Friday, and I'll tell you what they're looking at. But we do have a question from one of our viewers. What game do you play?
Right now I'm actually playing. I went back to Kingdom Hearts 3 for years. I was like, I want to play Kingdom Hearts, but I want to do it in order. And I had played the first two when I was younger, and I was like, when 3 came out, I was like, all right, I'm gonna replay them. And then I kind of never did that. So the other day I was like, you know what, let me just jump into 3. I'm also playing Pokemon. The new Legends ZA just came out. So like
Mhm.
I'm a big Pokemon fan. I'm doing that. I'm doing what else am I playing? I'm kind of very up. I'm doing like Aliens Fire Team Elite. I kind of like sometimes I like going in and just like zoning out on those things. Skyrim is something that is a classic that I will jump back into every once in a while. But yeah, like I try to rotate it as much as I can. I have a habit of not finishing games, so like yeah, I definitely jump in and out more than I end up finishing a game for sure. Like, I'm playing. I have a lot of different devices too. I've been big into handheld, so I've got like all of the handheld devices that there is. Like, so like I definitely like just switch on and off between whatever I'm playing. Oh, and No Man's Sky. They're constantly updating. I love space games, so like No Man's Sky is one of my favorites. Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen, all of them, love it.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you for joining. And I cannot wait for part two when I bring out the rest of the Get Along Gang, the villains did. But in these last 2 minutes, what are your final thoughts that you want to leave the people with?
I want to leave the people with the message of now is the time for real change. Now is the time where we elect real people to represent real people and we remove the establishment puppets and the career politicians. Now is the time in human history where we make a change to eliminate poverty and promote prosperity and elevate the human race for real. No more asking, no more waiting. Now is the time. Change is here. That's what we got. Let's stand together. Let's stand united. Let's bring about change in the system. Let's do it.
And let the people know where they can find you and where they can support.
Yeah, you can check out my website, Vance B for ny8.com, or you can like check out me on most of my social media is vance.b.nyc. Yeah, my TikTok is vance.b.ny8. But yeah, you can find all of that on my website. And you could support my Act Blue is in my website also, or it's also on my link tree in any of my bios. And you could totally, if you want to like volunteer, I haven't got that set up yet, but when I do need volunteers, if you want to like sign up, there's a place on my website where you can do that. Yeah.
All righty. Well, once again, thank you. And we will
Thank
see you for
you.
part two on November 8th. Make sure you all mark your calendar. Part 2 of this interview will take place November 8th on the Villain's View, which is 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Standard. And as you know, Villain's View stretches a lot longer, well, 1 hour longer than I do over here. Because I like to follow the bouncing ball. And if we went longer than that, I would probably catch another band over here. But as always, you all, thank you for viewing. And what do we always say? Each one teach one, each one reach one. Go out and get into some good trouble. But remember, nothing that requires bail in this economy. And the key to that is it only requires bail if you get caught. Till next time, you guys.